This goes for religious people. This goes for Old Testament Jews. And that's shocking. That is shocking. They had a sentimental notion of who God was. They had a partially informed notion of who God was. But it was not the true God of the Old Testament. They had created God in the way that they wanted him to be. He would be a God who would approve of their righteousness. And by the way, I need to say, religion is not a step toward God. Religion is the final blasphemy. It is the final blasphemy. It is the final stage of the sinner's depravity. Why? Because when you create a God of your own making, sort of hybrid God, you have violated the first commandment, which is to have no other gods. And you have violated the great commandment, which is to love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength. There's no room for any other God. So religion is not a step toward God. It is the final blasphemy. This is very hard for people to understand, because so many people find their way into religion as part of the necessary assembly of components by which they can think of themselves as good and relieve some guilt. Man is never more sinful than when he is in a false religion or has invented a false God or a false Christ or a false gospel. That's not an improvement. That's the worst blasphemy of all blasphemies. The most heinous sin of all sins is to have another God than the true God, another Christ than the true Christ, another religion. Isaiah 64 says that your righteousnesses are nothing but filthy rags. So do you understand? This is the challenge in evangelism. You're talking to people who hate where evangelism has to start. And that is with their recognition of their utter sinfulness, unwillingness, inability to hear the truth, understand the truth, embrace the truth, love the truth, and come to God and come to Christ. They will 1,000 times rather find their way into a false religion. So where you have to begin with the gospel is the sinner has to know the true condition of sinfulness and the reality of the demonic nature of all false religions. That leads me to say this is also the most minimized doctrine, because what I've just said to you is so offensive. To a mind controlled by Satan, the deceiving liar, and fallen reason. That leaves us in a very difficult position. What do we say next? If we can get the conversation past that without being thrown out, what do we say?